Hey guys, AlphaFish here. Welcome back to another one of my videos. And today we're going to be talking about fighting. So, of course, everyone's like, well, I know how to fight. I click on the castle, I click attack, and then I slide my little bars for my troops, and I hit the confirm button, and it goes, with the swords, and then the troops march and attack. But there's actually a lot more to it, and Lords Mobile is actually called a RTS, which means real time strategy. Which means that if that's all you're doing is just hitting that attack button, sending troops, that's not strategy. Anyone can do that. Even infants by accident playing with your phone can send troops. I've had guild members say, "Oh, well, my 5-year-old son zeroed my castle because he went and attacked someone." So so anyone can just blindly send troops. No, no, no. Today what we're talking about is a bit of strategy. And the reason it's hard to find videos based on strategy is because it's really hard to expand on it because a lot of strategy is situational. But I'm going to be talking about a few strategic methods that will help you, even as free to play. It'll help you protect yourself, your friends, your hive. So let's get into it. So first off, we're going to be talking about raiders. Now, raiders are the people that just randomly show up at your hive and they just try to burn everyone and everything that has either troops out, leader out, or resources that are stacked up higher than your excuse me, higher than your vault. And anything your vault doesn't hold, they can take. Of course, they're going to get like a tax deduction from that, but that's resources that they're taking that you're losing. So, what we are going to cover how to discourage raiders because it's a war game. You can't hide from them. There's no peaceful kingdom. I have a video based on that too, and I explain why there's no peaceful kingdoms. So you go check that out. Also, I have another video on how to prepare your castle for war because if you have this a guy that's like my size that's coming and just raiding your guild, there's no way that you're going to have any chance without preparing your castle for war. So if you're going to do this, you need to go all out. Check out my other video, and I'll show you how to set all of that up to maximize your damage output. So uh, there's two. Technically, there's three different types of fighting. There's defensive, there's offensive, and then there's defensively offensive. So defensively offensive is the best. It's the best one to do. And I'm sure you guys are thinking, "What? How can you do that?" So defensive is when you have like a trap basically and you're just basically eating troops. Which if you're free to play, most free to play people don't have traps. They can't eat a march. Which if you watch my other videos, I can teach you how to do it, but it's a lot of commitment. A lot of commitment. So offensive is where you just blindly, or not blindly, but you just straight out attack the person. Which if they're like my size, you're not getting those troops back. Half of them are gonna die, and the rest of them are going to the infirmaries. That's just that's the way it is. So the best way is this gray area, small gray area in between, and it's the best way to protect your friends, yourself, and your guild. So all you need to do, simply, easier said than done, of course, is to reinforce or garrison your friends when raiders come to attack your hive. And there's problems with this. There's pros and there's cons. You have to first off keep your infirmaries completely empty because depending on the size of the raider, they might just wipe your troops out completely, and that's going to suck to a certain extent. Like that's it's going to be a load bearing on the amount of resources you have. It's going to be a load bearing on your speed ups, which I actually have a video on how to uh, prepare your castle to do this. So go check out my other videos for what, the second or third time I said that. So watch my stuff. But anyway, um, so yeah, if you're properly prepared for this, you can basically whittle down your raiders. See, here's the thing with raiders: a lot of them, they have to visit a lot of hives. They waste a lot of relocators looking for resources or troops or leaders. They're looking for easy targets because they don't want to waste all of their troops that they spent money on, right? So the best thing to do is to just relentlessly throw your troops at them, and they will get reds as long as your infirmaries are empty and they can hold all of your troops. You won't get any reds. That's why the defensively offense technique works really well, especially for free to play, because virtually as long as you have the resources and speeds to waste, you can just heal your troops up every time and send them back out, right? And they take reds. I actually had a guy, I got on one of my alts to troll him. He was about 80 or 90 mil, and my alt at the time was like 40 mil, maybe 38, something like that. And so he kept sending marches at my guildmates. So I kept garrisoning against him over and over and over. After about an hour of playing cat and mouse, I managed to get him to hit my troops about 5 times, and just in those 5 hits, he took a cumulatively 300k T3 reds, which, when you have a smaller castle or you're like 80 or 90 mil, that's a large chunk of troops, especially if you're like one of those castles that have been zeroed. And you have all this research might, and you really don't have that many troops to begin with, and you're just trying to, troll people. That's a lot of troops to lose. Now, it's nothing compared to these big pay to win players that go off and do like 5 rallies and kill like millions of troops. But for one raider by himself to lose 300k, that's a large chunk. And most raiders will probably leave your hive before they lose 300,000 troops. To be honest, most of them will leave your hive. And they probably won't come back if you fight them off a couple times, a couple visitations. They're not going to keep coming back unless they know you're offline and that you're not going to do anything. But if your whole guild is doing this, then they're going to leave you alone for the most part. So try that out. It definitely does work. Um, as far as like trying to get your troops to arrive before theirs does, this can be a problem if they are on the edge of the hive and they're closer to the targets that they're attacking than you are. What you can do is you can speed up your troops to where they are just going to be slightly late and hit second, and then at the last second, at I say the last 5 seconds before the enemy's troop arrives, if your troops are just behind them and like time wise, you have to time this just right. You can use boots. You can use speed up boots at like the last second, so you can push your troops into the castle before theirs arrive, and that way they don't have time to speed up their troops. That's why you do it that way. And I don't know if you've noticed people do this before, but it is a really good tactic to use. And it works quite frequently, but it does kind of drain your boots. So make sure if you're going to that extent, it's worth it. Make sure it's worth it. Don't just do it out of frustration and anger, because that's how you lose strategy games, man. That's how you lose. It's just going in blind, ain't with out of anger. Don't do it. For people that like to sit in the hive, not you, like enemies, like they sit in your hive for days and days and days, and they just randomly attack the entire hive and burn everything. Basically, use you guys as farms or cattle. Best thing to do for those is a strategy I came up with myself called, I call it Minesweeper. So basically, if you've ever played Minesweeper, there's just a grid of little squares, and you click on the squares because all the squares are buttons. You click on it, and you hope that you don't hit a mine, because if you hit a mine, it's game over, right? So what you do is you get a bunch of random guild members to use anti-scouts, and I'm not talking about like a 4-hour, 8-hour. You need to use at least a 1-day anti-scout or maybe a 3-day, depending on how long you think this raider is going to sit in your hive, right? So you get a bunch of members to do that, and then on a couple, like one or two of the members that has a really highly upgraded embassy, you have people reinforce the castle, and whoever's reinforcing also needs to use anti-scouts. Whenever that raider comes online, he's going to start scouting around the hive, right? And then he's going to notice that some people have anti-scouts, and the first thing he's going to think is, well, I scouted that guy earlier today or yesterday. He doesn't have anything, so I'm going to hit him anyway. I'm going to attack him, right? So he starts attacking some castles that have the anti-scouts, and he's successful. He doesn't get any like dead troops or anything like that, so he's happy. All of a sudden, he hits one of these reinforced castles. Boom, game over, right? His troops are gone now. His troops are dead. He's probably going to get mad, and he's going to send multiple marches at that one castle to zero out all of those troops. But if you guys do it properly, and all the people that reinforce that castle have empty infirmaries, no one loses any troops. You just have to worry about speed ups to heal your troops and the resources. That's it. Just two things. And then you can reset. But I recommend using different castles every time so you can keep him guessing. And what's going to happen is he's going to start second guessing the attacking your castles in your hive. And then at that point, when he starts to be hesitant of attacking the anti-scout castles, have everyone start using anti-scouts in the entire guild. If they don't want to be farmed or hit, have everyone use anti-scouts. This will ward him off. Like, eventually he's going to get irritated and tired of hitting the traps. He's going to leave. Because, like I said, they want easy targets. So, Minesweeper is a very, very good strategy. And I've kept it to myself for years, because I've been playing for over 2 years. And when my guild was smaller, probably less than half of its current size, I came up with this tactic because I got tired of people sitting in my hive and bullying my guild, you know? It's one thing to raid, but it's another thing to sit in the hive and just be rude, like verbally rude. You try to be nice and courteous to them, and they're just sitting here just insulting you, you know, and calling you, oh, you're stupid noob or whatever. So try out this tactic. I guarantee you they're not going to be a happy camper. Ha 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 ha. My puns are bad, I know. But, happy camper. So, do this, and I guarantee you'll see some progress in reducing some of the raiders. Now, you'll still get raiders from time to time, but you'll notice that the raiders will be different people. You won't see the same people all the time. So, try this out. And, well, if you have any questions, comment below. This is pretty much it for this video. I can't really think of anything else. Oh, real quick, before you exit the video. One last tactic, one thing you can do if you have a really strong guildmate, because sometimes, you know, there's always one person that grows faster than everyone else. Have them send a garrison to a castle that's being attacked, and then have that player that's being attacked random, because the garrison will arrive with to the castle. It'll arrive to the castle when the person relocates, and so will the enemy troops. So if they're both coming in, even if the enemy troops are closer, that one player can random. What do you call it? Auto arrives all of the troops, and guess what? The raiders will automatically hit that garrison. So it's a good trapping technique. The problem with it is that the raider, if he gets mad, he can move to the spot that your friend left from and sit in the hive, which then you just do Minesweeper, right? Or it's costly with gems, because relocators are hard to get. So once you run out of relocators, you'll end up using gems. So that's really the only problem with that tactic. But if you don't mind and you want to troll people, it's a good way to do it. And sending garrison, you can easily keep your infirmary empty, and you can send a bunch of leaders without sending, or you can send a bunch of heroes without sending your leader, or you can send your leader if you want. But just be careful with it, because when you're leaderless and the guy decides to attack you and speed up, he can hurt you, you know, if you're sending the garrison. Because the garrison still has to walk back from your friend's spot that he moved away from. So it still has to walk back. So you have to be careful with that if you're sending your leader. But if you don't send your leader, you know, if you just want to give him some reds, it's still pretty funny to do. So try out these tactics and be safe, shelter, and that's pretty much for this. That's it for this video, and peace out.